Chapter 12. When Knighthood Was in Flower. This is a Librivox recording. All Librivox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit librivox.org. Recording by M.J. Frank. When Knighthood Was in Flower by Charles Major. Chapter 12. Atonement. I had not been long in the room when a knock at the door announced the girls. I admitted them, and Mary walked to the middle of the floor. It was just growing dark, and the room was quite dim, save at the window where Brandon sat reading. Gods, those were exciting moments. My heart beat like a woman's. Brandon saw the girls when they entered, but never so much as looked up from his book. You must remember he had a great grievance. Even looking at it from Mary's side of the case, certainly its best point of view, he had been terribly misused, and it was all the worse that the misuse had come from one who, from his standpoint, had pretended to love him, and had wantonly led him on, as he had the best of right to think, to love her and to suffer the keenest pangs a heart can know. Then you must remember he did not know even the best side of the matter, bad as it was, but saw only the naked fact that, in recompense for his great help in time of need, Mary had deliberately allowed him to lie in that dungeon a long, miserable month, and would have suffered him to die. So it was no wonder his heart was filled with bitterness toward her. Jane and I had remained near the door, and poor Mary was a pitiable princess, standing there so full of doubt in the middle of the room. After a moment she stepped toward the window, and with quick coming breath stopped at the threshold of the little passage. "Master Brandon, I have come, not to make excuses, for nothing can excuse me, but to tell you how it all happened by trusting to another." Brandon arose, and marking the place in his book with his finger, followed Mary, who had stepped backward into the room. "Your Highness is very gracious and kind thus to honor me, but as our ways will hereafter lie as far apart as the world is broad, I think it would have been far better had you refrained from so imprudent a visit, especially as anything one so exalted as yourself may have to say can be no affair of such as I, one just free of the hangman's noose." "Oh, don't, I pray you. Let me tell you, and it may make a difference. It must pain you, I know, to think of me as you do, after what has passed between us." "Yes, that only makes it all the harder. If you could give your kisses," and she blushed red as blood, "to one for whom you care so little that you could leave him to die like a dog, when a word from you would have saved him, what reason have I to suppose they are not for every man?" This gave Mary an opening of which she was quick enough to take advantage, for Brandon was in the wrong. "You know that is not true. You are not honest with me nor with yourself, and that is not like you. You know that no other man ever had or could have any favor from me, even the slightest. Wantonness is not among my thousand faults. It is not that which angers you. You are sure enough of me in that respect. In truth, I had almost come to believe you were too sure, that I had grown cheap in your eyes, and you did not care so much as I thought and hoped for what I had to give, for after that day you came not near me at all. I know it was the part of wisdom and prudence that you should remain away, but had you cared as much as I, your prudence would not have held you." She hung her head a moment in silence, then looking at him, almost ready for tears, continued: "A man has no right to speak in that way of a woman whose little favors he has taken, and make her regret that she has given a gift only that it may recoil upon her. Little, did I say? Sir, do you know what that first kiss was to me? Had I possessed all the crowns of all the earth, I would have given them to you as willingly. Now you know the value I placed on it, however worthless it was to you. Yet I was a cheerful giver of that great gift, was I not? And can you find it in your heart to make of it a shame to me, that of which I was so proud?" She stood there with head inclined a little to one side, looking at him inquiringly as if awaiting an answer. He did not speak, but looked steadily at his book. I felt, however, that he was changing, and I was sure her beauty, never more exquisite than in its present humility, would yet atone for even so great a fault as hers. Err, look beautiful, and receive remission. Such a woman as Mary carries her indulgence in her face. I now began to realize for the first time the wondrous power of this girl, and ceased to marvel that she had always been able to turn even the king, the most violent, stubborn man on earth, to her own wishes. Her manner made her words eloquent, and already, with true feminine tactics, she had put Brandon in the wrong in everything, because he was wrong in part. Then she quickly went over what she had said to me. She told of her great dread lest the king should learn of the visit to Grouche's and its fatal consequences, knowing full well it would render Henry impervious to her influence and precipitate the French marriage. She told him of how she was going to the king the day after the arrest to ask his release, and of the meeting with Buckingham, and his promise. Still Brandon said nothing, and stood as if politely waiting for her to withdraw. She remained silent a little time, waiting for him to speak, when tears, partly of vexation, I think, moistened her eyes. "Tell me at least," she said, "that you know I speak the truth. I have always believed in you, and now I ask for your faith. I would not lie to you in the faintest shading of a thought, not for heaven itself, not even for your love and forgiveness, much as they are to me. And I want to know that you are sure of my truthfulness if you doubt all else. You see, I speak plainly of what your love is to me, for although by remaining away you made me fear I had been too lavish with my favors, that is every woman's fear, I knew in my heart you loved me, that you could not have done and said what you did otherwise. Now you see what faith I have in you, and you a man whom a woman's instinct prompts to doubt. How does it compare with your faith in me, a woman, whom all the instincts of a manly nature should dispose to trust? It seems to be an unwritten law that a man may lie to a woman concerning the most important thing in life to her, and be proud of it. But you see, even now, I have all faith in your love for me, else I surely should not be here. You see, I trust even your unspoken word, when it might, without much blame to you, be a spoken lie. Yet you do not trust me, who have no world-given right to speak falsely about such things, and when that which I now do is full of shame for me, and what I have done full of guilt, if inspired by aught but the purest truth from my heart of hearts. Your words mean so much more, I think, than you realize, and are so cruel in turning to evil the highest, purest impulse a woman can feel, the glowing pride in self-surrender, and the sweet, delightful privilege of giving where she loves. How can you? How can you?" How eloquent she was! It seemed to me this would have melted the frozen sea. But I think Brandon felt that now his only hope lay in the safeguard of his constantly upheld indignation. When he spoke he ignored all she had said. "You did well to employ my Lord of Buckingham. It will make matters more interesting when I tell you it was he who attacked you and was caught by the leg under his wounded horse. He was lame, I am told, for some time afterward. I had watched him following you from the gate at Bridewell, and at once recognized him when his mask fell off during the fight by the wall. You have done well at every step, I see." "Oh, God, to think of it! Had I but known! Buckingham shall pay for this with his head. But how could I know? I was but a poor distracted girl, sure to make some fatal error. I was in such agony. Your wounds, believe me, I suffered more from them than you could. Every pain you felt was a pang for me. And then that awful marriage! I was being sold like a wretched slave to that old satyr, to be gloated over and feasted upon. No man can know the horror of that thought to a woman, to any woman, good or bad. To have one's beauty turn to curse her, and make her desirable only as well-fed cattle are prized. No matter how great the manifestation of such so-called love, it all the more repels a woman and adds to her loathing day by day. Then there was something worse than all." She was almost weeping now. "I might have been able to bear the thought even of that hideous marriage. Others have lived through the like. But after that day when you... It seemed that your touch was a spark dropped into a heart full of tinder, which had been lying there awaiting it all these years. In that one moment the flame grew so intense I could not withstand it. My throat ached, I could scarcely breathe, and it seemed that my heart would burst." Here the tears gushed forth as she took a step toward him with outstretched arms, and said between her sobs, "I wanted you for my husband, and I could not bear the torturing thought of losing you or enduring any other man. I could not give you up after that. It was all too late, too late. It had gone too far. I was lost, lost." He sprang to where she stood leaning toward him and caught her to his breast. She held him from her while she said, "Now you know that I would not have left you in that terrible place had I known it. No, not if it had taken my life to buy your freedom." "I do know. Be sure of that. I know it, and shall know it always, whatever happens. Nothing can change me. I will never doubt you again. It is my turn to ask forgiveness now." No, just forgive me, that is all I ask." And her head was on his breast. "Let us step out into the passageway, Edwin," said Jane, and we did. There were times when Jane seemed to be inspired. When we went back into the room, Mary and Brandon were sitting in the window way on his great cloak. They rose and came to us, holding each other's hands, and Mary asked, looking up to him, "Shall we tell them?" "As you like, my lady." Mary was willing, and looked for Brandon to speak, so he said, "This lady whom I hold by the hand and myself have promised each other before the good God to be husband and wife, if fortune ever so favour us that it be possible." "No, that is not it," interrupted Mary. "There is no if in it. It shall be, whether it is possible or not. Nothing shall prevent." At this she kissed Jane and told her how she loved her, and gave me her hand, for her love was so great within her that it overflowed upon everyone. She, however, always had a plenitude of love for Jane, and though she might scold her and apparently misuse her, Jane was as dear as a sister, and was always sure of her steadfast, tried, and lasting affection. After Mary had said there should be no if, Brandon replied, "Very well, Madame Destiny." Then turning to us, "What ought I to do for one who is willing to stoop from so high an estate to honour me and be my wife?" "Love her, and her alone, with your whole heart as long as you live. That is all she wants, I am sure," volunteered Jane, sentimentally. "Jane, you are a Madame Solomon," said Mary, with a tone of her old-time laugh. "Is the course you advise as you would wish to be done by?" And she glanced mischievously from Jane to me as the laugh bubbled up from her heart, merry and soft, as if it had not come from what was but now the home of grief and pain. "I know nothing about how I should like to be done by," said Jane with a pout, "but if you have such respect for my wisdom, I will offer a little more. I think it is time we should be going." "Now, Jane, you are growing foolish again. I will not go yet," and Mary made manifest her intention by sitting down. She could not bring herself to forego the pleasure of staying, dangerous as she knew it to be, and could not bear the pain of parting, even for a short time, now that she had Brandon once more. The time was soon coming, but I am too fast again. After a time Brandon said, "I think Jane's wisdom remains with her, Mary. It is better that you do not stay, much as I wish to have you." She was ready to obey him at once. When she arose to go, she took both his hands in hers and whispered, "Mary, I like the name on your lips," and then, glancing hurriedly over her shoulder to see if Jane and I were looking, lifted her face to him and ran after us. We were a little in advance of the princess, and as we walked along, Jane said under her breath, "Now look out for trouble. It will come quickly, and I fear for Master Brandon more than anyone. He has made a noble fight against her and against himself, and it is no wonder she loves him." This made me feel a little jealous. "Jane, you could not love him, could you?" I asked. "No matter what I could do, Edwin, I do not, and that should satisfy you." Her voice and manner said more than her words. The hall was almost dark, and I have always considered that occasion one of my lost opportunities, but they are not many. The next evening Brandon and I, upon Lady Mary's invitation, went up to her apartments, but did not stay long, fearing some one might find us there and cause trouble. We would not have gone at all had not the whole court been absent in London, for discovery would have been a serious matter, to one of us at least. As I told you once before, Henry did not care how much Brandon might love his sister, but Buckingham had whispered suspicions of the state of Mary's heart, and his own observations, together with the intercepted note, had given these suspicions a stronger colouring, so that a very small matter might turn them into certainties. The king had pardoned Brandon for the killing of the 2 men in Billingsgate, as he was forced to do under the circumstances, but there his kindness stopped. After a short time he deprived him of his place at court, and all that was left for him of royal favour was permission to remain with me and live at the palace until such time as he should sail for New Spain. Chapter 13. Portland, Oregon,